It had been so damaged that the whole bowel had to be removed. That's what the surgeon said. The whole thing has to come out. And this was really unusual for somebody of my age, of my demographic, shall we say. The doctors, I think at one point said to me, this is very strange. You should be a 40-year-old white man.
Hello, welcome to Soul Awakenings with Madiha Sosan podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us, and her name is Natasha Anand Boojihawon. Now, Natasha is a master energy healer, master Sattva yoga teacher, leadership coach, and holistic therapist fusing internal family system psychotherapy, naturopathic nutrition, and the list goes on and on and on because this woman is incredible. Natasha Anand draws much of her experience from her own journey of overcoming 2 autoimmune conditions, hormone imbalances, addictions, and burnout. I am so excited to interview her because she carries so much knowledge and wisdom, and her story of transformation, transforming her health, is truly incredible. And I'm sure if you are in the same boat, she will help you out. Hi, Natasha. How are you doing today?
Hi, Madiha. I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited to get into this with you.
It's an honor to have you on this podcast because I met you through our good friends, Daniel and Christina. And I did not know that you had a really awesome story, an inspiring story of transformation. So, I thought, I need to get you on this podcast. So, for those of our listeners who don't know much about you, could you tell us a bit about yourself, a brief overview for our listeners?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so my name is Natasha Anand Boojihawon, and yeah, I wear a few different hats. So for the past 12 years, I have been working therapeutically in communities. I set up a social enterprise called Union Street Media Arts with my husband, Roop. And back in the day, we were running lots of community and youth projects and also doing training programs for the government. And it was all based around creative work. So we were using the creative and digital media and arts to work with people and support people to, just realize who they are and where they are, and to support them to have a voice and to express how they felt about things that were going on in their lives. And we used to teach digital media skills as well and do a lot of campaigning and advocacy. And through my own healing journey, having, really understood at a greater depth what really enables a person to be alive in the world and functioning and, to be in their joyfulness, we realized that actually our work had to move into health and wellness. So 6 years ago, we set up a clinic called Earth Clinic. And in the last couple of years, we've developed a school with that. So through the clinic, we support people who are going through physical, emotional, energetic problems, concerns, and we support them through their healing journey. And through the school, we're really about supporting the next generation of holistic practitioners and therapists, and people who are out there really supporting other people. So yeah, we help people really embody and embed holistic tools so that they can go out there and have a powerful impact in the world. So we do a lot of teaching of holistic medicine, energy medicine, support people in their community projects that they do, in their social projects, and help them to grow their conscious, ethical businesses.
Oh, that's brilliant. I think we need more people like you because a lot of us are going through our own spiritual awakening right now, and we need to get in the school, right? So, school of the you can help a lot of people out, which is great. So, I'm aware that you were diagnosed with a serious autoimmune condition. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed actually with two autoimmune conditions. One was quite early on in my life when I was a teenager. When I was 16, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And ulcerative colitis is an autoimmune condition that affects the large intestine. And it just came out of nowhere. I had absolutely no idea. I didn't even have any symptoms. It was just picked up by some routine tests. I was living in Saudi Arabia at the time. My parents were living there, and actually I was at boarding school over here in the UK, and I didn't. Both my parents are in the medical profession. They're both nurses, and I had a pretty grounded sort of view and approach to health and wellness in terms of it's a matter of life, it's something that in the cycles of life many people go through, and it was okay for me. I also wasn't really, I guess, really taught at a great depth, you know, by my doctors, by those around me. I wasn't really taught at a great depth, what really it was all about. So as far as I was concerned, I wasn't having any symptoms. I had to be on some medication. It's fine. Life went on. And it did. And by the time I was 18, I got really very sick pretty much overnight. Had to be taken into hospital, and then I was there for almost 2 months, and I had an operation at that point. And then in the following year, I had two more operations, and then I just was very resilient, very strong, and again, I just sort of found a way to get on with my life, and was pretty much, okay health-wise until I was about 25 years old. And at that point, I was living with my then fiance, now husband group. And over a period of 2 years, I started to become very unwell again, very imbalanced, and lots of different things coming up, which I'm sure we're going to go into. And in that time, by the age of about 27, I developed another autoimmune condition called iritis or uveitis, which affects the iris of the eye. Mm-hmm. Very, very painful. And so this time I was actually experiencing it. I was getting the symptoms. And they were manifesting, for months and months and months at a time. And I was really, really struggling with it. So at some point when I was 27, things had to change. And that's when I started on my healing journey.
Mm-hmm. So, when you were diagnosed with this condition, what were the symptoms and how did you feel about it? You were young and you were diagnosed with like this serious condition. What were your feelings around it? What were you thinking? I know you're quite a resilient. You're okay, get on with it, get on with it sort of person. But deep core issues, looking back, how were you feeling? And did you have any symptoms?
Yeah. So, between that period of 25 and 27, I absolutely was in that mindset of just get on with it. Absolutely. And things have really evolved and changed for me now because I recognize that if you don't change the conditions that enabled that, that imbalance to manifest, then at some point it's likely that it's going to resurface because you haven't done anything different. I didn't do anything different from having been 18, diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. I had my large intestine removed through a procedure called a subtotal colectomy. The whole thing was completely ulcerated. So they had to remove it after I had been on medication for an entire month in hospital. And and then fast forward, I'm getting to 25 years old, nothing really had changed in my diet, in my lifestyle. In fact, my lifestyle had actually worsened.
Mm.
I, was coming off the back of having gone to uni, really burnt the candle at both ends, really indulged in alcohol a lot, as a way of just kind of being in the world, at that point in my life. I guess I really wanted to fit in. Looking back, I was searching for myself. I was searching for a deeper sense of connection. And, alcohol really helped me to find that, helped me to connect with other people, helped me to be a part of a community. But that kind of downward spiral was part of, that journey into unraveling and becoming imbalanced. So at the same time, I had also started the social enterprise with Root, and we were a few years into it. And it was really intense work, like really intense work. We were working with some of the most marginalized, vulnerable, isolated young people and people generally out there in the world that we were supporting. And often we were the only people that, were supporting them. And seeing how things were playing out in society, seeing how unsupported people were and alone people were and ill-equipped they were, we really took it on as our responsibility. And we also really felt so many mixed emotions like sadness and anger and all of these other things as a part of what we were experiencing and witnessing. And what I realize now is that we really had taken that on. Well, I'm going to speak for myself here. I really took that on. I really took on all of those burdens. And so at the same time as I have a pre-existing health condition, I'm becoming sort of dependent on alcohol as a way of coping in the world. I am now starting to work 60-hour weeks, doing a lot of very emotionally and physically intensive, laborious work. I'm getting very emotional, very stressed, very caught up in other people's trauma, in other people's lives, and starting to feel like I was losing a grasp on my own life. Really, I started to really experience a lot of anger myself, a lot of emotional turmoil. And I guess these were like the precursor symptoms. And from there, I started to develop another kind of bowel condition, which I didn't ever really get diagnosed. But my suspicion was I was developing another autoimmune condition compared in relation to the bowel. I feel that I was developing Crohn's disease, which is another autoimmune condition. Luckily, I was able to catch it a bit earlier. But I started getting all these gut problems. I used to get a major pain in my intestines. My food wouldn't be digesting properly. I would be bloated. I would be heavy. And all of that further contributes to your whole emotional state as well, right? And so it's like a whole cycle that you get caught up in. And then with all of that stress going on, I developed this eye condition, iritis. And I mean, it was so painful. It's like having sand continuously in your eyes. And when it comes, and there's no stopping it. You have to be on steroid eye drops for the next 6 weeks. And I actually developed this in both of my eyes. So I had a period of a year where both of my eyes were really swollen, really red, and really very painful. And I was constantly on eye drops. Yeah. So all of these, I can't even now thinking, I can't even really, like at that point, I can't even separate out what was going on. It was just this whole big snowball that was gathering more and more and more symptoms, and was becoming more and more challenging. I ended up quite a few times in hospital in A&E because the pain was so intense in my digestive system, in my bowels. I had to have morphine injected into me about 5 or 6 times in the course of about, a year and a half. And I just had absolutely no idea what was going on. I went to see a private doctor even, and he couldn't work out what was going on. And it was at that point that I decided to make a change.
Yeah. So Going back to you were given quite a few drugs. What were the drugs, and did they have any effects on you, temporary maybe, or like, in your view, are they helpful?
Mhm. So during that time, I was on the steroids for my eyes. Um, And that was helpful at alleviating the pain and the sensation because what it did was it lowered, it sort of suppressed my immune system, you
Mm.
know?
Mm.
What I realize now is that in the long term, that's not very helpful or supportive for the system because it will suppress your immune system.
Mm.
And in the long term, I'm questioning whether that's going to have an impact on my immune system if several times in a year I'm taking medication to suppress it. You know, what is that going to mean for me in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years' time? We don't even have that data. The medical industry doesn't even really have that data. So we don't really know. And this is where our personal responsibility comes in. And it's really important to be aware of our own body and to start to develop a knowing within us of what is right for us.
Yeah.
So the other medication that I was on, and I only went on it for a few months, um, was an anti-inflammatory for my bowels. And again, it's a type of medication that would, you know, sort of come in and influence the immune system to sort of calm down. And again, it was the same thing. I was asking those questions. What is this going to mean for me in the long term?
Mm.
Now, with this second medication that I've just told you about, I actually didn't get any relief whatsoever. And I tried it. I went on 4 rounds of metronidazole, it's called, and it did absolutely nothing for me. But in a way, it was a blessing because that's what helped me to see
Mm.
that the medication wasn't working. And I had to do something myself to change the conditions that I had created.
Mm.
So that's what I did.
Yeah, that's yeah, because I see quite a lot of people being prescribed like drugs, and there are people who need it. Yeah, you can, yeah, and completely understand. But quite a lot of them have more side effects to it than they actually. There's no cure for it. They already tell you when you go into the doctor, there's no cure for anything, but there are side effects. It'll give you some relief, but yeah, I totally get that. So you mentioned you had several operations, and I'm aware that you had an operation called J pouch. What is J pouch? Can you explain the procedure of it?
So, okay, the J pouch operation. So that happened when I was 18. And it just really came out of the blue, in a way. I mean, I'd been in hospital for months and I was on all sorts of very strong immunosuppressive drugs, really, really strong ones, that you have through an intravenous method, so it goes straight into your bloodstream. And I was also on really strong steroids, and I was given, the absolute maximum dose that I could be given within that particular time frame. It was about 1 month, and it didn't make a difference to my large intestine. My large intestine just continued to become more and more ulcerated.
Mm.
So just for a moment, picture what that is. It may be very uncomfortable for you, but this was what was going on inside my body. So my large intestine was so had been so damaged by my own immune system. So in autoimmune conditions, what happens is that your own immune system attacks healthy
Mm.
tissue because for some reason the immune system is confused and it attacks healthy tissue. So that's why you get autoimmune conditions in different parts of the body, because it depends on where those immune cells are attacking the healthy tissue. So for me, it was in the large intestine. And it had been so damaged that the whole bowel had to be removed. That's what the surgeon said. The whole thing has to come out. And this was really unusual for somebody of my age, of my demographic, shall we say. The doctors, I think at one point said to me, this is very strange. You should be a 40-year-old white man. You are not fitting the profile of, you know, somebody presenting in this way. It's such an extreme end of the spectrum. So because it was so damaged, they had no choice but to remove the whole thing, because otherwise I would have gone into septic shock. It would have perforated, which means the organ would have burst, and that infection would have gotten into the bloodstream and all around my body. And that's when things become really fatal. So I was at that point of, you know, I was really on the cusp here. So they removed, so the J pouch procedure was in 3 stages. So the first operation, they completely removed the damaged large intestine. And when they did that, they took the end of the small intestine. So the large intestine is right at the end of the digestive tract, right? The end of the large intestine is the rectum, and that attaches to the anus, okay? So that whole bit of the bowel they removed. And so then the small intestine, which comes before the large intestine, they took the end of that and they brought it out onto my stomach. So it was external, it was brought out. And what they did is called an ileostomy. It's the ileum of the small bowel. They bring it out onto the surface, and then I had a colostomy bag. Right. So what that meant was that would collect the feces that was forming in my gut, and then I would externally empty it from the colostomy bag into the toilet. And that procedure pretty much saved my life. And it also enabled my body to have a rest and to do some healing and repairing and give the immune system a chance to sort of calm down in a way. And I'd also had a whole month being pumped full of so many drugs that was able to sort of end. So the next operation I had was about 7 months later. I actually somehow went to university 2 months after my first operation, and I was at university. So in the Christmas holidays, I came home and I had the second operation. And in the second operation, what they did was they created the J pouch. Right. So they went back in and they took the end of the small intestine, so the bit that was out on my stomach, that came out externally, they took that back in. And what they did was they created with that a J pouch. And the J pouch is sort of like a replacement large intestine. It's meant to act in the same way as a large intestine. And what it would mean is that eventually I would be able to go to the toilet normally and not have to do it in a bag. So they created this J pouch and then they just left it in my body. Then fast forward another 6 months, and when I finished university, the end of my first year in the June, I went back into hospital and they went back inside and they connected everything up again. So they took, and might I say, in the second operation, when they created the J pouch, they brought the end of the small intestine back out onto the surface. So they gave me another colostomy bag again. And they did this because they wanted to give the J pouch time to heal. Yeah. You know, because it had been constructed out of the small intestine, so they really wanted it to heal to be able to function properly. So that when I went in for my third operation, they took the ileostomy back again inside the body and they connected everything up. So when I came out of that operation, I no longer had a colostomy bag and I had a digestive tract that was fully joined up, and I could go to the toilet normally, shall we say. So that was the procedure of the J pouch.
Wow, that's quite quite intense procedure. And
Yeah.
big up to all the doctors who've operated on you. They saved your life. So big up to
Yes.
them. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I just want to say with that as well, just thank you for saying that, because I want to be really, really clear here, like my overall resounding message, it's very clear, is about taking responsibility of your own health, and, and ways that you can do that. And at the same time, I just, it's really important that we recognize that, mainstream allopathic medical system is really important and really useful. And in these cases, saved my life. My surgeon is an amazing, amazing surgeon. And he was actually the most supportive of me when I started to make new changes. He was the most supportive out of everybody. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. He did an amazing job, because I'm really healthy today. My digestive system feels really good today. At the same time, that system has its limitations as well. And that is just something that we have to come to terms with and be
Yeah.
really honest about,
Yeah.
and work out how we can fill in the gaps ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, while you were going through all of this, you said you were at university. So I don't know how you managed to get to university during all that. Did it impact on your education at all?
You know what? This is such an interesting conversation. This is just such an interesting part of my life, because um, the short, easy answer is it did and it didn't.
Mm,
Ultimately, what I understand now about myself is that my inner world, as in my mind, my body, the parts of me that make me whole, is so incredible.
mm,
My mind and my body is so strong and resilient. My soul energy, me, the true essence of who I am, is so powerful and so strong, because somehow I got through all of that. I got through university, I got through, going to lectures, doing my assignments, doing my exams and getting through it all. And I also had a really, really, really good time. I was just like any ordinary first year student. I
mm,
don't really remember it being any more difficult for me than it was for any of my peers.
mm,
I was just able to really take it in my stride. And I've done a lot of work now to sort of, look at that and recognize where, at some points I was very much suppressing my emotions and very much just like get on with the job and don't think about the worries that I had, because I had, of course, worries. I was just been through a major operation, a series of operations, and I was having more, and of course there were worries and concerns that I had, but I think that a lot of it was just suppressed.
mm,
But then on the flip side, my soul energy is also so strong that I was able to be okay with where I was at. I was really okay at times, much of the time.
mm,
And I was really able to just get on with life and remain confident. I wasn't very dissimilar to how I am today. I think the true essence of who I am, my soul energy has always been there, has always
mm.
been very strong. So it didn't really impact massively on my university. That having been said, at the end of my second year, um, I decided to quit the course that I was doing, which was fine arts at a fairly prestigious art school in the northeast of England, and completely change and started a degree in politics. So there was something going on there, which I think is a good thing, because I was realizing that although I'm very creative and I absolutely loved making art, that wasn't my path in life. And somehow I ended up on this politics course. It was a complete fluke. It was a friend had enrolled onto the course and they didn't want to do it anymore. And I just went, oh my God, my parents are going to be so angry with me. I've quit my course. I need to do something. So I just took it. And actually it was part of very much, you know, the beginning part of that journey of the work that I'm doing with people, you know, really understanding the work that we're here to do in society. So, you know, there's no point in like trying to pick it, I think personally for me, trying to pick it apart and analyze it. It is what it is. And I'm here today because of all of that. So that's why I say it sort of did and it sort of didn't have a, you know, it had a good, positive, helpful impact, generally speaking, because I just accept I've got no regrets and I'm really, really happy with where I am today.
Yeah, that's a great place to be. And especially looking back, when you go through adversity, looking back, you realize how much you've grown, and it's not all about the education all the time. It's not about the materialistic thing. It's you as a soul, the essence of you. Yeah, so totally agree with that. So, you know, I was going to ask you about a question on mental health, but since you're very resilient, but I think, you know, going through a serious illness at a young age, it must have taken some sort of toll on your mental health. You know, like you said, you know, when you were being dependent on alcohol, do you think while you were up front, like I'm strong, I can go through life and everything, but in the deep core, you were struggling, you were suppressing those feelings of, oh my God, this has happened to me, traumatic experiences, because having an operation or anything, it can be a traumatic experience. So how did it impact your mental health in
Yeah.
that sense?
So this is also really fascinating stuff because it's really helped me to understand trauma. I now work as a trauma-informed therapist and I teach my students to be trauma-informed therapists as well. So I have a classic symptom of trauma, and it's not a traditional trauma symptom, like a PTSD symptom. It's something that we now, those of us that are practicing trauma-informed therapies, that we recognize as being a telltale sign that somebody has experienced trauma. And that for me was that there are chunks of memories that I just don't have. There are things that I have completely forgotten. Parts of my time at university, parts of my time, you know, in my adolescent years and in childhood. And I'm not talking about I experienced such serious trauma that I had to block all of that out, you know, like I had a terrible childhood or any of that. It's just that, you know, trauma can really be classified as an experience that we had that didn't feel safe, uncomfortable, and didn't feel should have been happening to us, you know? And so these things can be happening in friendship groups, you know, like really mild borderline types of bullying that we wouldn't maybe even recognize as bullying, you know, things that you and I could say to each other in a conversation right now, stuff that can happen at school, the way that you may have been told off by a teacher or a parent, you know, being pushed to do something that you really didn't feel equipped to do. All of those things can be, you know, taken on by the body and by the mind as a trauma, and as a result we take on those burdens. And so I just want to clarify that because, you know, I often get people watching this, and I just want to make it really really clear, the message that I'm putting across here it can be very subtle, these experiences that we have, but they can have a profound impact on us. And so what I realize is that, you know, I did have experiences in my life, in my childhood, some of that I've started to get the memories back, some of which I definitely remembered, and some of which I still don't remember today. And what I personally believe is that these things happen for a reason. They're meant to happen. It's almost like they couldn't have even been prevented. No matter how much our parents tried to protect us or we tried to protect ourselves, it was always meant to happen because we are on this journey in this lifetime. We are experiencing what it is to be human in a world as is such, with this extreme two ends of the spectrum of duality. You know, you have incredible love and joy on one end, and you have the harsh realities and separation at the other end. And in order for us to like move into our true power, we have to experience that shadow. We have to experience those traumas, go through the darkness in order to learn from them and see, you know, where we're going and how to get back to ourselves, to get back to our true power, how to heal ourselves. So in a way, we attract those experiences into our lives. Even when we're younger, you know, we attract these experiences. They happen for a reason so that we can learn and grow through them. Now, some of them, you know, are really harsh experiences. I've met people that have been abused, and how can you say that person's attracted that into their life? It's very controversial. But it's not an attraction in terms of I am literally telling you to come here and do that to me. It's just a way that energy works. It's a way that this experience of life works, that things happen and they happen and they are opportunities for us to evolve and grow from. So that's how I've learned to see what's going on in my world and support other people. And it's really helped me to journey through my mental and emotional health, and to get to a point today where I'm really okay with a lot of the challenging stuff that I faced. You know, I'm really okay. I've made a lot of peace with that. And I found a way to really anchor into my sense of self, my soul energy, and stay in that energy for a lot of the time, you know. And so not much really kind of sways me, generally speaking. But like everybody, I'm very normal and I get triggered. I get annoyed by things. I get a bit pissed off with that. Something comes in and I feel sad or angry for something. You know, it's really natural for us all to do that. It just, I can see it and observe it really well now. I can see it and I can observe it and I can do the work on it in that moment, you know, generally speaking. So I'm really grateful for my experiences.
Yeah. And you made a really great point where you can move past whatever's triggers or whatever's coming up for you. You can move past it really like faster. Like I'm even noticing that in my life, and I'm sure as listeners who are, you know, obviously listening can resonate, who are on this spiritual path or a self-awareness path, it's whatever trigger comes up, you understand, oh, okay, what is this behind? Why am I feeling that? Are they the other person a mirror? And, you know, so it's completely, I totally get that. So, you know, going back to your condition, you know, what was your diet like before? Did you make any changes after your operations or anything like that? You know, what were you eating? Were you aggravating your condition? And what was it like afterwards, after your operations?
So after my first operation, because I had a colostomy bag, there were some absolute definite changes that I had to make. So first of all, I didn't have a large intestine. So there, you know, were some things I had to change straight away. I had to drink more liquid, for example, because a big part of the large intestine is it sort of sucks out all of the last bit of you know, water from what we've ingested, and obviously that gets filtered and it gets, you know, used by the body because we're like up to 90% water, right? So straight away, I knew I had to. I was told I had a really great team around me. I had some amazing nurses and doctors who really showed me the ropes. Yeah, one of the things was to make sure I hydrated really, really well. There were a couple of other things, mainly around foods that were really difficult to digest. So, the nurses taught me that there are going to be some foods that are quite tough for the intestines to digest. And because you've had an operation and you've got a colostomy bag, it's just better to avoid those foods. So things that have like a waxy sort of exterior, like vegetables, things like peppers and sweet corn, it was advised that I just sort of remove that from my diet altogether, just to, to prevent myself from having any issues digesting food. And other than that, I think it was suggested that I cut down eating meat because, again, that's harder to digest. And also, it was advised that I ingest sort of moderate fiber. So again, not too much fiber that's overworking my intestines, enough to keep me going and what I need for my bowels to function and for the nutrition, but not too much. So there were a few things that they were like, just stay away from these foods or too much of these foods, just to give your bowels a rest. But other than that, I wasn't advised on anything else, not in terms of healing my gut or healing my immune system, or even just supporting my immune system, my digestion. I wasn't advised on any of that stuff. So, years fast forward, 10 years later, I'm 27 and I'm experiencing this stuff again. That's when I decided to look into alternative and complementary supportive therapies, because I had to make a change.
Yeah, so, I mean, you like the doctors and the dietitians, because I was in and out as well. I've had IBS and it's minor things. So I've been in a dietitian. So they only give you a certain amount of things to do, but not actually healing. Like you said, healing your own gut is it's always just, cut this out, cut that out, but not like, okay, this is what you need, exactly, what you need to really take to make a change in your immune system. So I totally agree with you in that sense. So, you've been through quite a lot from a early age. So what was your turning point of transformation, to work on your health? It's like, no, okay, all of these doctors are, okay, they've done their part. It's my turn to turn the life around. What was that point?
I love what you just said, because that sums it up. The doctors have done their part. It's now my turn. We have become so dependent on the state, on our doctors, on politicians to tell us what to do. We've forgotten how to take things into our own hands and use our own intuition and knowing to discern what's right for us. So I love it. You hit nail right on the head for me there. And also I want to answer this by saying something about the doctors and nurses. It relates to what we were talking about before. They are not trained to with the knowledge to share with us how we can support and heal and recover from these serious conditions using nutrition. They do not have that training. So in one sense, it's kind of like, what are they meant to do? They don't have the training. The issue is when the doctors and nurses say that your diet's not going to have an impact. When they try and have an input into something that they don't actually fully understand because they haven't received the training. So they're making comments based on what they've heard from other people. They're not making a comment based on their own direct experience, because they absolutely wouldn't be saying that. And actually, you will meet some doctors who do know, because they've either done it for themselves, they've done it for their clients, or they've seen a family member going through a healing journey using nutrition and complementary therapies. And there are those doctors that you meet, and I do meet them all the time, who say, absolutely, great, that will help. I'm glad you're seeing a nutritional therapist. I'm glad you're doing energy work. I know that's going to have an impact for you. So I just want to make that really, 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 really clear, because this is the basis from which we hand over our power to the medical institutions, when really they don't actually have the appropriate training. Now, that's just the way that it is. There's no judgment there. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that what we have to do is exactly what you said, is we have to recognize the limitations and say, our doctors did what they can. I'm so grateful, and I'm now going to move forward. So what I did, the first thing that I did, was recognize that the medications weren't having an impact, and I wasn't getting better. And so my next thought was, well, what are the alternatives to medication then? That was my next logical thought. And so I opened my laptop, I got out Google, or whatever search engine I was using at the time. Maybe Google wasn't around, maybe it was Firefox or something else. And I typed in alternative to medication. And hey presto, this entire world just sprung up right before my very eyes. And I was like, whoa, what is this? This is an actual thing. Alternative healthcare, complementary medicine. I was like, what? So I got lost in the YouTube rabbit hole for like a good 5 days. And when I emerged from all of that, I had a plan. I knew exactly what I was going to do to turn my health around. I knew exactly what the first few steps were anyway. The first step was to completely change my diet. So I had to eliminate everything that was going to cause even a potential issue to my digestive system, even a potential, because I was at such rock bottom. I was like, no, I'm eliminating any potential issues. So I eliminated wheat, sugar, dairy, meat, and alcohol. And I went teetotal of all of those things for 2 whole years.
Wow.
Even to this very day, I can't believe that I did that. Yeah. And then what I did was I curated myself a plan of natural medications that were going to perform certain functions in the body, particularly to, boost my immune system, regulate my immune system, because that's important. My immune system was really confused. It needed to be sort of soothed, and I needed to reteach my immune system how to function again. It's like, you can do that. There are incredible phytonutrients, which are chemicals in plants that are amazing at teaching the immune system how to function properly. They actually teach the immune system how to function properly. Last night, I was researching one of my favorite things, which are beta-glucans, which are found in medicinal mushrooms, like reishi and shiitake and maitake, ganoderma, turkey tail. These are the top #1 foods that contain within them actual nutrients, chemicals that teach the immune system how to regulate itself.
Wow.
Amazing, right? So I found medicinal mushrooms. I found turmeric, which also supports the immune system. It lowers inflammation. I found something called Boswellia serrata, which is the resin from the frankincense tree. Has a very particular effect to support inflammation, particularly in the gut. I started taking certain oils that are known for their properties for anti-inflammatory and for healing. And I also started taking some natural medicines to help me to eliminate toxins from my body, because that was the main cause of this immune system dysfunction. The immune system becomes confused, and it's confused because it becomes overburdened. It becomes overburdened with toxins, and then becomes really confused and doesn't know how to function anymore. So actually what we need to do is get the toxins out of the body, because the toxins are overloading the body. So I did a whole regime to detoxify my body through things like chlorella and spirulina. These are algae that remove heavy metals and toxins from the body. I was taking high strength probiotics. At one time, I think I was taking 450 billion
Wow.
probiotics every day.
Wow, that's
The
commitment.
huge amount. What else did I do? I was also, oh my gosh, I was juicing every single day. My husband, my poor husband to this day, is still traumatized by juicing, because he was by my side the whole time, and we would juice like 3 times a week, and we would make like 4 liters of juice
Wow.
every time, so that we were drinking like 3-4 juices every day: cabbage, pineapple, apple, all of these things that are really supportive for the detoxification and immune health and gut health. And we used to juice so much, we used to just get so tired just juicing. So he never wants to juice again in his life. He's like, I'm done with juicing, you do the juicing now. So we were doing juicing, and there was a whole load of other herbs and nutrients that I was taking. And within literally 3 weeks, my symptoms completely vanished.
Wow.
Completely vanished. And I was starting to feel really, really good again. I literally made this turnaround overnight simply by just changing my diet and taking these natural herbs and nutrients found in nature, but taking them at a high dose, a potent therapeutic dose. So those were the first things that I do. And then very shortly after that, I went on holiday to Mauritius with my husband. And we met a really old, long-standing friend, not an old, she's not old, long-standing old friend of ours, actually my mother's neighbor in our village back at home in Mauritius, Ruma, very, very dear close friend and teacher. And she put her hands on my body, and straight away she knew exactly what I'd been through. She knew what kind of work I was doing and how stressed I was.
Really?
And she said, Natasha and Roop, you must come back here tomorrow. I'm going to initiate you into Reiki. So literally the next day, or I think it was the day after that, we went to her and she initiated us into Reiki level 1. And from that point, we started our journey with energy medicine. We started to meditate. And that was the missing link to my sort of mini plan. Well, my big plan that I developed for myself was the nutrition, the natural medicines, and then the meditation and energy work that formed a complete package for me that really helped me to do the deep healing.
Wow. So that's quite a transformation, and hats off to you for going through that, because not many people, they know the lifestyle changes that they need to make, but they don't have the courage to make it. So well done for doing that. And like you said, it's like it's like you're painting a picture of your story. So from this certain amount of time for up until your transformation, you needed to go through the medical professions in order for you to see that it's great, it served its purpose, but there is something more that I can do for myself, and it's all in my hands. So yeah, that's absolutely amazing that you became aware of that. And it was, I guess, that night or that week of sitting or watching YouTube videos was your spiritual awakening. And it doesn't have to be like a bang spiritual awakening. It can be subtle for you to lead you onto a path. Yeah, so obviously you made so many changes, and the if people are going through the same condition right now or any other condition, because I feel like that your diet can cure all of everything else. So what is the main thing you would tell them to change in their life in terms of diet?
Okay, well, in terms of diet, this is a really tricky one. And actually, my views and opinions have changed over the years.
Mhm.
I trained as a naturopathic nutritional therapist about 5 years ago. And what I was suggesting to my clients back then, and what I'm suggesting to my clients now has really dramatically changed.
Mm.
But there are some core elements that have remained the same, which are actually the most important things.
Mhm.
So first of all, in terms of nutrition and also the wider environment, I might add, it's really, really important that we eliminate any toxic exposure through our foods and through the chemicals that we bring into our home, like our toiletries and cleaning products.
Mm.
Because straight away, this is something really simple that doesn't cost anything that is probably going to have one of the biggest effects on our system. So when we're eliminating those toxins, we're straight away soothing and calming the immune system and allowing the body to kind of be able to function and do its work. Otherwise, it's always just sort of, struggling to get by. We already live in a very toxic environment just through the air pollution. If you live in a city like I do, just what we breathe in is so full of toxins that the body is working so hard to eliminate toxins all of the time. All of the detoxification organs like the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, the skin, the blood, always working overtime to eliminate. So that's just going to create so much more energy in the system. So that's my absolute top tip in terms of nutrition. And then after that, my next top tip would be to really think very honestly with yourself about what you really feel is good for your body and helpful for your body, and what you feel and know is unhelpful for your body. And actually to do the inner work, the emotional work, in order to be okay with that and make the key decisions about the things that you want to cut out of your diet. Because it's all good and well me sitting here and saying to you, you should remove gluten from your diet, you should remove dairy from your diet, because these things cause inflammation in the body and they're not easy to digest, and it's going to disrupt your bowels, and it's going to disrupt your microbiome, which is the healthy bacteria in the gut. And remember, we have more bacteria than we have cells in our body. So it's really important to keep the bacteria, the microbiome really healthy. So I could sit here and tell you to do all of those things. But if you're not in a position emotionally and mentally to be able to do that, then it's not going to happen. That's why in my practice, I bring a holistic approach to working with my clients, because there's things that I'm suggesting that they do, but then I'm also working with them on the level of the mind to get the mind into that position where the mind is the one saying, okay, it's fine, we can let go of this stuff now. Otherwise, we're just forcing ourselves and we're suppressing those parts of us. And in the long term, that's not good for our emotional and mental health, because we're just going to spring back into those habits. So that would be the second thing, is to really be honest with ourselves on where we're at with our emotions and our attachments to eating certain foods, and do the inner work in order to make those positive choices with our nutrition. The third thing, my third and final thing that I'm gonna share is nutritionally, there are some incredible, what people call superfoods, shall we say, the new superfood movement. We can label them as superfoods, but there's some incredible foods out there which have the most intelligent, high vibrational nutrients that are really, really supportive for our health. So if we live in cities, if we experience stress, if we've had trauma in our life, if we've had health conditions, some of these foods, by introducing them into our diet, can have such a profound impact on so many aspects of us. So working with a holistic therapist, a nutritional therapist, somebody that can guide you as to what foods to introduce into your diet that's going to have a supportive role depending on what you need. So that therapist is going to do a little investigation and assessment. They're going to see where you're at, and they're going to advise you with what foods are going to support you and with what foods are not going to support you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I'm pretty sure that a lot of our listeners will be diving into the therapist and holistic side of things, and which is what we want, right? So now I'm gonna go completely off. Well, it kind of ties into it, but I want to ask you about this. Now, I've been on a journey of, like, obviously personal development journey myself, and what I'm finding in this journey is that self-care and self-love is so important, and it should be everyone's number one priority. So what are your thoughts on this, about self-care? And I remember watching one of your videos, and it was completely on point. You were talking about self-care and how it ties into your mental, emotional, and physical health.
Absolutely. Self-care it's really very central to what we are here to do. You know, if we aren't willing to fully care for ourselves, if we aren't able to receive that love and attention from ourselves, then our capacity to give to others is going to be reflected in that. So our capacity to give is absolutely directly related to our capacity to receive. Receive from ourselves, receive from the world, receive from others. And self-care for me isn't just about having a morning practice and doing yoga and going to the gym. Self-care is about tending to ourselves in the way that our system needs. So if I can hear within my body, within my mind, that what's useful for me is to go for a walk in nature, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to directly respond to what my body and what my mind is telling me is going to be really soothing and really grounding for it. And I want to balance that also with the things that I know are really good for me that I probably should be doing because of my health history or because of things that I've experienced in my life. So it's this really fine balance between giving ourselves what we know we need and also giving ourselves things that are, smart and intelligent things to do. So, self-care can be seen as anything that brings us joy, that brings us into our sense of love, our sense of divinity, our sense of oneness, that brings us into our soul energy. That is anything that helps us to soothe ourselves, soothe our inner world, to ground, to create stability, to really create that solid foundation every day that we can move from, that we can do our work from, that we can get out there in the world and thrive from that place of stability is so important. But self-care also includes nourishing ourselves on all levels, nourishing the body, nourishing the mind, having conscious conversations, surrounding ourselves with people that are helping us to evolve, supporting each other, not surrounding ourselves by people who are stuck in gossip and stuck in like trauma and stuck in, these unhelpful ways of communicating with each other. It's really important that we nourish ourselves in terms of our physical body, in terms of our brain health, doing things to keep our brain, healthy, balancing the left and right hemispheres of the brain. Those sorts of things are really important, as well as part of self-care. And ultimately our energy, because we are energy. Absolutely everything is made of energy. This entire existence is created by different layers of energetic fields. This body and this mind and this soul are different layers of energetic fields. So first and foremost, it's important for us to have a culture of energy. So we understand that we're energetic beings, and we start to learn how to play with our own energy, how to boost our own energy. You know, so many of us, I'm sure you can empathize, but so many of us are very sensitive.
Yeah.
We feel the energies of those around us, and sometimes we can get brought down by that, or we can become affected by that. So it's important to learn how to play with our energy so we can bring our energy up. And it's also the same with holistic health. It's important that we develop a culture of holistic awareness of health, you know, so that our self-care is holistic. It's not just about the physical body hitting the gym, you know, getting the right kind of foods in your body. This is about the mind also, the soul also, the energy also.
Yeah, that's absolutely agree, and I'm so glad you brought up the sensitives, because you know quite a lot of us are sensitive, and we're known as the empaths. We're like a sponge for emotions, everyone's emotion. You walk into the room, and that's it. You're gone. You know, if it depends on what sort of room you're walking into. So it's really, really important for you to take that time to care and have your own needs met, not everybody else's. You know, it's been so that we're coming to almost an end now, Natasha, and I really don't want this interview to end, but you know, could you tell us about the work that you do now?
Sure, sure. So, yeah, the work that I'm doing right now is really, really, really exciting. There's a few sort of different strands to that work. Um, so I mentioned right at the beginning that we have a clinic, and this is where people come to enjoy our classes, yoga classes, self-healing classes. Um, you know, we also run retreats, day retreats, weekend retreats, experiences for people to come together and go deep into their journey, into their healing, and come together with tribe and community, because there's so much healing that can come from that. We also offer singular therapy packages. So we offer internal family systems, which is a psycho-spiritual form of psychotherapy. We offer energy medicine, and we also offer a couple of integrated packages, so some holistic integrated packages where you can come and get nutrition, coaching, yoga, mindfulness, meditation, energy medicine, IFS, all in one package. So this is for people who have really, you know, they really want to invest in their health and their well-being. Maybe they have a chronic health condition, maybe it's emotional, mental, maybe it's something more physical. Often it's a combination of the both. And what we do is we guide people through a journey of deep healing. Yeah, and we also have this another singular therapy that we do is yoga. We do private yoga, mindfulness, and meditation sessions as well with people. And through the school, we have teacher training programs in energy medicine and holistic medicine. And we have online courses that we do. So we have one which is called Protect Your Mind, Body, and Energy Fields. It's all about protecting your mind, body, and energy fields. It does what it says on the tin. And we have other courses that we're developing at the moment in relation to holistic health and creating conscious community projects. But, you know, we have another really beautiful online program called the Holistic Medicine Practitioner Training Program. And this is a 4 to 6 month online program. We're always enrolling people, and it's for people who work in a therapeutic setting in some way, whether you're a teacher, a social worker, or a therapist. And it's about coming on board on a journey with us to enhance your therapeutic skills in so many different holistic areas. And it's going to help you to stabilize into your self-care, to stabilize into your own healing journey and take it to the next level. But it's also going to help you expand your business and also help you get better health outcomes for your clients. Yeah, so that's pretty much the main work. The work that I love doing is, you know, I love working with people in a holistic way. I love working with people who are ready to make that commitment to their health, that are, that want to improve or upgrade their self-care, that want to do deep healing, that are excited about learning about the technologies of the human body, the mind, and the spirit, that want to know about holistic medicine and energy medicine, and that want to learn from people who've experienced it themselves, which is myself and my husband.
Yeah.
That's just the work that I absolutely love doing. And
Yeah.
you can find out, you can find me really easily online, and contact me anytime. I offer free calls to anybody that's looking for support.
Yeah, so guys, if you are struggling with everything that Natasha just mentioned, get in touch with her. But before we can get into the contact details, I wanna do some rapid fire questions with her because I've been grilling her.
Oh yeah. Great. I forgot about this bit.
Yeah, but she does not know. She knows that I was going to ask her a question, but she does not know how many questions. But actually, it's quite short, but it's something because we're running out of time. Okay, so are you ready?
I'm ready as I'll ever be.
So what is your definition of God?
Oneness.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, so how do you define religion and spirituality?
Two sides of the same coin. That's the first thing that came to me. Do you want me to say more?
You can say more. You can say more. It's up to you.
To me, spirituality is the recognition of soul energy, that we are spirit, that we are soul. That's my own definition of spirituality. And religion sort of took those that were teaching that and made it into something else that served a different purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Okay, so what was the lesson that took you longest to learn?
Oh, the lesson that took me longest to learn, and I'm still learning today, is how to unprogram the innate aspects of myself that judge myself.
Oh wow. that's that's a big lesson.
It is still going. Gonna be the longest one, probably.
Yeah. Okay, so do you believe, now this is, oh, I love this question. Do you believe there is an end to healing?
No.
No?
But not because healing can never happen, because I feel that healing is actually a state of being rather than an end point to get to.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good. Okay, so one more. The world needs more of what?
Ooh, the world needs more grounded people who express unconditional love.
Beautiful. We need more of that. We really do. So like one final question and how people can contact you, but if there is one message that you would like to share with someone who's going through a dark night of the soul, someone who's going through adversity right now, and they want some hope, what is that one message that you would tell them?
Follow your breath. Follow your breath. Just stay with the breath. Just keep breathing. Just practice breathing and go deeper and deeper and deeper with your breath. That will be the single most guiding force. And if there was ever a time when that's all you had, that's all you would ever need.
Okay. It's beautiful. Thank you. How can people contact you?
So people can find me on Instagram, Natasha that _._ Anand, ANAND. It's my handle. You can email me at Natasha at your, with a Y, earthclinic.com. Or you can, those are the two main ways, actually.
Your website as well, your website, people can
My
contact you.
website is natashaanand.com. It's being revamped at the moment. And the clinic is yourearthclinic.co.uk, and the school is yourearthschool.co.uk.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Natasha, for your wisdom and your knowledge that you shared today. And I'm sure a lot of people will gain so much from this interview. And so thank you so much for sharing your personal story with us. And thank you so much. That's all I can say. Thank you so much for being on this podcast. Is there any last messages that you would like to give?
I'm just so grateful for you and what you're doing, and I so appreciate it. Takes so much courage, and I'm going to mirror that right back at you, because I know you said that to me earlier. It does take so much courage to be here and to get these messages out there, and there's never been a better time, right? And thank you for doing this just off your own back, from the bottom of your own heart. I just think it's so beautiful, and it's going to inspire so many people. I'm just really grateful to be a part of it, and to be a part of this amazing tribe and community of people doing incredible things and all inspiring each other. And I'm really excited to connect what we're doing with the world. So I hope this podcast reaches, the all corners of the earth, and I'm really excited to hear from people, and for us to all share and be in this experience together.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to Soul Awakenings with Madiha Sosan podcast. I would love to know what your biggest takeaway from this conversation has been. Share your thoughts on my Facebook and Instagram, Madiha Sosan. You can also check out my website, madihasosan.com. If you would like to watch this episode, then head over to my YouTube channel, Mads Corner, MADZ Corner. If you enjoyed this episode, then please do rate and share this with your family and friends. Thank you once again, and I will see you on the next episode.